It was late in the evening of August 15th, or the early morning hours of August 16th, 2015, in the small, relatively rural town of Yuba City, California, which is about a 40-minute drive northeast of the state capital of Sacramento. Of the very few things we do know as fact in this case is that on that day, a young mother, wife, and aspiring photographer, Sara Matthews Easton, who was just 2 days shy of her 32nd birthday, was shot in the head. Twice. With her police chief husband's service weapon, while her 3 young children slept elsewhere in the same house. The 2 bullets entered her skull on the left side. Sara was right-handed. She succumbed to her wounds at 5:14 a.m., August 16th, 2015. What we don't know for a fact is who pulled the trigger that night. Twice. Join us, along with Sara's family, as we unravel the many layers of this mystery in our new series, Sara's Truth, the Death of Sara Matthews Easton. This is Solve Crimes. It's been nearly 6 years since Sara's death, and the Matthews family is still trying to get answers. As of the day of this recording, there is still no official determination by law enforcement with regards to what the evidence says happened to Sara late that August night. After multiple requests, Sara's family finally received a copy of Sara's death certificate in 2018, 3 years after Sara passed. But the important parts, especially the manner of death, were redacted, blacked out. Over the past 5.5 years, Sara's family has repeatedly called the Yuba City Police Department, which was the agency first on the scene, as well as the California Department of Justice, which is the agency of record and now in charge of Sara's case, and asked for an update and any information on the status of her case. They were turned away each and every time with nothing more than a "we can't comment on an open case" as a response. This was an isolated, one-room, one-deceased person scene. There are virtually only 2 manners of death to choose from: self-inflicted or homicide. Accidental can be ruled out since there were 2 shots with a weapon that had safeties in place where you had to manually disable it in order to take that second shot. In most cases like this in the U.S., the law enforcement agency of record is required by law to provide public documents concerning the case after a certain amount of time. It varies state by state. Requests for public documents are commonly done by a family member or news organization, but virtually anyone can ask for these documents under the Freedom of Information Act, which was signed into law by President Lyndon B. Johnson on July 4, 1966. Since then, there have been several amendments over the years, including the recent FOIA Improvement Act of 2016. Typically referred to by its initials and pronounced FOIA, the Act has a provision legally requiring agencies to respond to FOIA requests within 20 days. Some federal agencies, such as the FBI and the CIA, rarely give sensitive information in that time frame, which causes many people and entities, such as the Associated Press, to file lawsuits in order to force the agency to provide the documents they seek. As I said, each state has its own FOIA laws, and while the state of California's Public Record Act requires all state government agencies to respond in writing within 10 days of a public records request, it also allows law enforcement agencies exemptions for cases that are still under investigation or contain sensitive information. Solve Crimes is a member of the California First Amendment Coalition, a nonprofit organization that works to defend free speech and the public's right to know. This is Coalition member and First Amendment attorney Roger Myers explaining the details and impact of the California voters' passing of Proposition 59 in 2004.
In 2004, the voters passed Proposition 59, which created a new constitutional right under the California State Constitution to know information held by government, and it does not exempt the courts. Basically, everything else that's a record created by a government agency in California or that is even held by the agency, even if it didn't create it, if it collects it and holds it in its records, it is technically subject to the Public Record Act unless one of the other exemptions applies. That office is open to the public. You can go in during normal business hours and ask to see the records that you want to see. If they're not held there, then they should tell you where to go to get them. There is a requirement under the Public Records Act that the agency assist you. So if you go in and see, I'd like to see certain records, I think you have them, and the agency says, no, we don't, they can't play hide the ball. They can't not tell you. They have an obligation to tell you where those records are located, and if they don't know, they have an obligation to help you find out.
They can't play hide the ball. Well, as Mr. Myers mentioned, there are exemptions, and many in the state of California would like to see these exemptions, like the one we're dealing with on Sara's case, tightened up. For instance, many would like to see a time limit with specific parameters with regards to cases being perpetually hidden from the public, such as in this particular case. While this certainly makes sense for new law enforcement investigations, ongoing and/or could contain sensitive information, this exemption can also be used as a legal loophole for stalled investigations or cases in which a law enforcement agency wants the investigation files to remain protected from FOIA requests indefinitely and for whatever reason, essentially putting the case in a legal purgatory and blocking families and the press from obtaining any information, even if it provides a grieving family some peace of mind or closure, without filing a lawsuit. Solve Crimes has verified with the California State Department of Justice that they indeed are the lead agency in Sara's case, and that it is in fact designated an open investigation. Their reply to our request for information and an update on the status of the investigation was received via email with the familiar, "We don't comment on open investigations." Here's Roger Myers again to explain the law enforcement exemption in a little more detail.
Now, another exemption under the Public Record Act is for law enforcement investigatory files, and this is a very complicated exemption. It is in section 6254F of the Government Code. And the exemption actually includes an exception to the exemption that requires law enforcement to tell you a lot of things. So in the guise of this exemption, there's this whole provision that says there's certain things they have to tell you and then certain things that they can withhold. So in theory, a law enforcement agency in California can withhold these records forever. As long as they can legitimately say it was part of their investigatory file and not a routine document, they can withhold that information forever.
Forever. Hopefully that portion of the California state law will be changed in the near future. But for Sara's case, her family has to either hire a high-powered attorney and file lawsuits to essentially force the DOJ to release the documents on the investigation, or we can use public pressure to get them to finalize their investigation once and for all. We're hoping that by putting this case into the public consciousness by means of our YouTube videos, and those of you who are willing to help the Matthews family by sharing this case and communicating your frustration with the DOJ, we can make this happen the old-fashioned way. Boots on the ground and making enough noise that the DOJ can't ignore Sara's case any longer. Very few people in Yuba City and sister city Marysville actually know any of the details surrounding Sara's passing. Those that are privy to details and rumors have speculated to us privately that they believe the reason Sara's case was never properly closed and the manner of her death undetermined was for political reasons. Now, you may be wondering right about now how the death of a woman in a town as small as Yuba City would even be on the radar of California state politics at all, causing the State Department of Justice to essentially freeze the case. Well, it may be as simple as timing. The top cop of every state who oversees their State Department of Justice is the Attorney General. At the time of Sara's death in August of 2015, the California State Attorney General was the current Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris. Yeah, I know. In January of 2015, longtime U.S. Senator from California, Barbara Boxer, announced that she would not seek re-election in 2016. The following week, then California State Attorney General Kamala Harris announced her candidacy and was immediately designated the top contender for the position. Sara's death occurred only 8 months later, right in the heat of Harris's Senate campaign. Remember, Sara's case involved a local police chief, and some people in state government may not have wanted to provide Harris's Senate opponents with ammunition that could aim at California's top cop. We are certainly not implying that Vice President Harris personally ordered Sara's case to be frozen, but there doesn't appear to be any other explanation for the Department of Justice to perpetually bury this case and rebuffing continued requests for updates by Sara's family. The fact of this matter is that all of that could very well be utter crap. But Sara's family has been banished to the land of speculation by way of the DOJ's apparent refusal or inability to properly investigate and close this case based on the evidence collected and observed at the scene. Witnesses outside the home where Sara was shot have reported that the DOJ was inside the house for 12 to 14 hours following her death at 5:14 a.m. We assume that they were collecting evidence, as one of the crime scene photos that Solved Crimes obtained does show what appears to be at least one bullet cut out of the mattress. Sara's family reports that the DOJ confiscated computers from the Eastons' home, including the cell phones belonging to Sara, her husband Aaron, as well as the children. The kids were given their cell phones back within 12 hours, but Sara and Aaron's cell phones were kept an additional 12 hours before being returned. It's unclear when the computers or any other devices that were obtained were returned. At this point, we are all left to wonder why this case hasn't been closed after nearly 6 years. We are left to speculate that in the 12 to 14 hours in the immediate aftermath of Sara's demise, and an untold number of hours evidence gathering later that day, the DOJ has had enough evidence to make a determination on manner of death, probably for many, many years. Solved Crimes asked Sara's two brothers, Johnny and Aaron Matthews, as well as Aaron Matthews' wife Heather, what they would say to the Department of Justice if they could speak directly to them. Please be advised that these comments are their personal and clearly emotional feelings toward the situation as it pertains to the current state of the case. Each of them have told Solved Crimes that they will accept whatever the evidence supports. We'd also like to mention here that everyone involved is considered innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Here's what Sara's brother Johnny Matthews wanted to say directly to the Department of Justice.
One of the things I want is I want the Department of Justice to close this case, whatever that means. So if it was deemed that it was actually a suicide, then publicly come out and tell us that it was a suicide and close the case. If there's someone that needs to be prosecuted for my sister's death, then prosecute that person. That's what I want the Department of Justice to do.
And here's what Sara's brother and sister-in-law, Aaron and Heather Matthews, wanted to say to the DOJ.
It's time to set whatever political motives you have aside and start going after the person that killed my sister and this corrupt police officer.
And this corrupt town. I mean,
there is so much corruption in this town, in their politics, and my sister is one of many victims. And it's time we find justice for Sara and the rest of the victims in Yuba and Sutter County. The nepotism and the corruption need to stop.
I mean, the minute we got the phone call and I could hear Johnny on the other line saying, you know, Sara was gone. And it just, I knew, you know, the thought popped into my head immediately. Did Aaron do this? You know, I knew she would not do this. So do your job, you know, give us justice, you know, let this family know why she died and let us have peace.
You can clearly hear the anguish and frustration in their voices, and who could blame them? In August of 2021, it will be 6 years of anguish and frustration for the Matthews family and for Sara's many friends. If you would like to help the Matthews family, here's what you can do. First, you can share this directly with your friends and family, especially those in the Yuba City, Marysville area, and by sharing this on social media. Secondly, you can reach out to the California Department of Justice and its overseer, current Attorney General Rob Bonta, and demand that they conclude their investigation on the Sara Easton case from Yuba City, California, once and for all, and give the Matthews family peace, closure, and possibly even justice. We'll put contact info for both of these entities in the description of this episode, but here it is again in case you want to write it down now. You can reach the California Department of Justice by phone at area code 916-322-3360. And in case you're trapped in 1989, you can also fax them at area code 916-323-5341. If you're the letter writing type, their snail mail address is 4949 Broadway, Sacramento, California, 95820. Since the DOJ is an executive branch under the California Attorney General, they share a website at oag.ca.gov. They have contact forms you can fill out there. You can reach the Attorney General's office by phone at area code 916-210-6276 or by mail at Attorney General's Office, California Department of Justice, Attention Public Inquiry Unit at 1300 I Street, Sacramento, California, 95814. You can also visit the Attorney General's Facebook page at facebook.com/RobBonta. Please be respectful and brief in your communication with them. We are hoping that the more people who reach out to these state departments, we can get their attention and spark some movement towards concluding Sara's case and helping the Matthews family to move forward. If you'd like to speak to us about information you may have regarding this case, or if you simply knew Sara and would like to share your memories, please visit our website at solvecrimes.tv and fill out our clue tip form. It's in the upper right-hand corner of every page. You can absolutely stay anonymous if you'd like. In our next episode, we will get to know Sara Matthews Easton as a person. She was well loved by family and friends, and many of them, along with family members, would like to share their memories of Sara as she was growing up, as a mother and as a friend. Thanks so much for watching. One thing that makes this channel a bit different is that we are actually involved in investigating and making every effort to solve these cases. This is real stuff we're reporting on here. So when we say that liking our videos, subscribing, and sharing helps, it's not about money. It's about getting these cases in front of more people and hopefully getting some closure and even justice in some cases for the families of these victims. We really do appreciate you liking this video and subscribing. Click the bell to be alerted for more episodes of Sara's Truth when they're uploaded. Also, comment with any questions or information you have about this case. Until next time, this is Solve Crimes.